Sometimes, the biggest tests don't happen under bright lights. They happen in silence, when no one is watching. Tonight, one man walked into his own restaurant, disguised as a stranger, and what followed shook everyone inside. Backhand index pointing right. If you enjoy the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because tomorrow we'll bring you an even more powerful story just for you. Imagine this. You walk into a place you secretly helped build, a place that carries pieces of your heart, your sweat, your sacrifice, and yet the people inside don't even recognize you. They don't smile, they don't welcome you. They dismiss you like you're just another nobody. That's exactly what happened to John Cena one rainy evening in Midtown Manhattan. The rain had left the streets slick, neon lights from nearby bars reflecting in puddles. The soft hum of traffic mixed with faint jazz spilling from restaurant windows. Among those city sounds, a man walked quietly toward a bistro named Orchard and Vine. To strangers, he looked like any tired older man, a bulky cardigan clinging to his shoulders, loose gray slacks hanging awkwardly, and thick round glasses dimming the sharpness of his eyes. His beard, gray and messy, almost looked fake. Too heavy, too deliberate. But that was the point. To everyone else, he was Mr. Cole, a retired insurance adjuster with a grudge and a bad knee. But in reality, this was John Cena, Hollywood star, philanthropist, and silent investor of the very restaurant he was walking into. He hadn't come tonight to pose for photos or to remind people of who he was. He had come for something deeper. He wanted to know if the place he built still deserved his name. Inside, the lighting was warm but tired. Chandeliers that had once gleamed now slightly dusted. Menus tucked into leather sleeves with edges peeling. Couples chatted over overpriced wine, and in the corner, framed reviews from newspapers that hadn't been in print for years stared down from the wall. The hostess barely lifted her head. "Table for one?" she asked flatly, her tone neither rude nor kind, just indifferent. Cena nodded. No words, no smile. Just the role of an old man blending in. She led him past clinking glasses and low laughter to a small corner booth. Table 8. A spot far enough from the kitchen to avoid the shouting of chefs, but close enough to catch the rhythm of the music. Cena lowered himself into the seat slowly, deliberately, as though every movement was weighted. A waiter named Liam approached. He couldn't have been older than 28. His hair was thinning early, his wrists stiff with exhaustion. His apron strap was frayed from too many washes, and though his voice carried politeness, his eyes carried something heavier, the fatigue of a man juggling too many responsibilities. A man who had more on his mind than just another customer. "Good evening, sir," Liam said with the same half-smile he had given 10 other tables already. "Can I get you started with something to drink?" Cena didn't touch the menu. Didn't even glance at it. He looked up slowly, eyes sharp behind the glasses. "Bring me the most expensive thing you have." Liam blinked, surprised. "Sir." Cena's voice was even, controlled. "I don't have time to waste. The most expensive dish. Bring it." For a moment, Liam hesitated. This wasn't a normal order. But years of customer service had taught him one thing. You don't argue when the bills are overdue and tips are your lifeline. He nodded quietly and walked toward the kitchen, the weight of that simple command pressing on him like a stone. Back in the booth, Cena leaned back, eyes scanning the room. He didn't smile, didn't frown. He was watching every detail, every movement. For him, this wasn't just dinner. This was a test. Backhand index pointing right. Quick question for you, watching right now. Have you ever walked into a place and felt invisible? Like nobody cared who you were or what you carried inside? Tell me in the comments, because what happens next in this story will show you how one moment of indifference can unravel years of hard work. As the minutes ticked by, Liam returned, balancing a tray. On it, a $200 Wagyu steak, cooked medium rare, laid over truffle mash, drizzled with a deep red wine reduction. The plate gleamed like a piece of art under the restaurant lights. By any standard, it was perfect. "Your steak, sir," Liam said softly, placing the dish down. Sina picked up the knife and fork slowly, like a judge preparing to deliver a verdict. He sliced. He chewed. Then, he placed the utensils down carefully, leaned back in his chair, and spoke in a voice so calm it cut deeper than a shout. "I wouldn't feed this to a stray dog." The words hung in the air like thunder after lightning. Liam froze. His throat tightened, his chest heavy. The chatter of other diners continued, but for him the world had gone silent. And so the test had begun. Liam's shoes squeaked faintly on the tiled floor as he walked back toward the kitchen. The $200 steak had been rejected without hesitation, without mercy. His heart sank, but his face stayed neutral. He couldn't afford to let it show. Not here. Not tonight. Behind the kitchen doors, the air was different. Hotter, louder, filled with the metallic clang of pans and the sharp rhythm of knives striking cutting boards. Elena, the head chef, looked up from the grill, her eyes narrowing the moment she saw Liam carrying the untouched plate. "What now?" she barked, wiping her hands on a stained towel. Liam hesitated, his voice almost a whisper. He said it wasn't fit for a stray dog. For a second, the kitchen went quiet. One of the line cooks stifled a laugh but quickly stopped when Elena's eyes cut across the room like knives. She pressed her lips tight, glanced toward the small service window, and caught a glimpse of table 8. The old man sitting perfectly still, not eating, not drinking, just waiting. Back in the dining area, the atmosphere remained untouched. A couple toasted their anniversary near the fireplace. A child knocked over a glass, and his mother scolded him softly. Life went on, indifferent to the silent storm brewing in the corner booth. Liam set the rejected plate aside, grabbed a tray of drinks for another table, and forced his tired smile back into place. But his hands trembled slightly, just enough that he almost spilled. And Sina. He never looked away. His eyes tracked every move, every hesitation, every flicker of exhaustion on Liam's face. Minutes later, Liam returned to the corner booth, placing a fresh glass of water in front of Sina. Clear. Cold. Ice clinking against the sides. Sina lifted it slowly, sniffed, took a sip, then set it back down. His voice was low, flat. "This is bathwater. Try again." Liam blinked. "I'm sorry, sir, I'll..." But Sina's eyes had already drifted away, dismissing him. The rejection was colder than the words. Liam rushed back, refilled another glass with extra ice, his movements faster now, almost frantic. He placed it gently in front of Sina, who didn't even thank him. Sina took a sip, then shook his head. "Now it tastes like dishwasher." The second rejection hit harder than the first. Liam swallowed, his throat dry. He wanted to defend himself, to say the water was fine, but the words died in his chest. He couldn't risk it. Not when every dollar mattered. Not when his mother's treatment was waiting. He brought a third glass, perfectly chilled. This time, Sina didn't even drink. He just stared at it, then at Liam, long enough to make the young man shift uneasily on his feet. Silence stretched, heavy and unbearable. From behind the bar, Craig, the floor manager, leaned lazily against the counter, sipping soda like it was whiskey. He muttered under his breath, "Not my shift," the same phrase he used whenever responsibility came knocking. His indifference was armor, a shield against caring too much. But Elena wasn't indifferent. She peeked through the kitchen window again, her gut twisting. Something about that old man at table 8 didn't sit right. It wasn't just entitlement. It was something else. He wasn't angry. He was watching, studying, testing. Meanwhile, Liam kept moving like a man underwater. Folding napkins, refilling bread baskets, forcing smiles that never reached his eyes. Every step was heavier, every task slower. His shoulders sagged, but he never stopped. Sina cut into the steak again, even though he'd already condemned it. His knife slid smoothly through the pink center. He chewed, swallowed, then leaned back, his voice cold but controlled. Clear and final. I wouldn't feed this to a stray dog. And you expect me to pay $200 for this? The words cracked through the room, calm but cutting. A couple nearby stopped mid-conversation. A child glanced curiously at the old man in the corner. But still nobody moved. Liam froze, his throat closing, his hand tightening on the edge of the tray he carried. The humiliation was sharper than any slap. He didn't argue. Couldn't. Instead, he nodded faintly, lifted the plate again with trembling fingers and walked away, his chest tight, his eyes burning. And Sina. He didn't smirk. He didn't gloat. He sat perfectly still, unreadable. Because for him, this wasn't about food. It was about something bigger. Something Liam couldn't yet see. Backhand index pointing right, and now I have to ask you, watching this video, if someone treated you this way, dismissing your efforts, questioning your worth, would you keep going? Or would you finally break? Drop your answer below, because the real test had only just begun. The restaurant carried on like nothing had happened. Couples laughed, forks clinked against porcelain, and the faint hum of jazz floated above it all. But at table 8, the air was different. Heavier. Tighter. Liam moved from table to table with a rhythm that looked smooth on the surface but was cracking underneath. His hands trembled when he poured wine. His apron strap slipped from his shoulder and he didn't bother fixing it. His smile flickered like a light bulb about to burn out. And through it all, John Cena watched. He wasn't watching like a diner. He was watching like a man who had once lived this very struggle. Every tired step, every fake smile, every desperate attempt to hold it all together. Cena saw it all. And he waited. Liam placed a bread basket on one table, adjusted silverware on another, then returned to Cena's booth with another glass of water. This one was crystal clear, packed with ice. Perfect by anyone's standards. Cena lifted it, swirled the cubes, then muttered without looking up. This napkin smells like bleach. Bring me a fresh one. Liam blinked, caught off guard. I can bring. Do it. Cena cut him off, his tone flat. And this chair, he shifted slightly, feels like concrete. Bring me another. There was no anger in the words, and somehow that made them worse. They carried the kind of quiet disappointment that cuts deeper than rage. Liam nodded. Yes, sir. He turned away slowly, dragging his shoes across the floor. In the storeroom, he crouched to grab another chair, but his legs wobbled. He steadied himself on the wall, whispering under his breath, 2 more months. Just 2 more months and Mom gets the treatment. The words cracked, almost breaking. Back at the bar, Craig, the floor manager, leaned against the counter, arms crossed. He watched Liam struggle with the chair, watched his hands shake as he carried it across the floor. Craig muttered to himself, he's going to crack. Any minute now. Then he shrugged. Not my shift. Indifference, it was his shield. But not Elena's. The head chef's eyes tracked Liam through the small kitchen window. She saw the sag in his shoulders, the hollow in his eyes. She saw the way that old man at table 8 never raised his voice, never smiled, never ate, just studied. There's something off about him, she murmured to herself. Meanwhile, Liam placed the new chair down carefully, avoiding the screech of wood against tile. He laid a folded napkin with precision, edges aligned, as though perfect corners could hold his life together. His hands tried to stay steady. Sina raised an eyebrow, then delivered another blow. His voice quiet, surgical. Your speed is impressive. I've never seen anyone move so slowly. The words slid like ice through Liam's chest. He flinched inside, but his face stayed blank. He didn't respond. He couldn't. You forgot the water, Sina added. Liam's lips pressed tight. He turned back toward the bar, each step heavier than the last. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was suffocating. A silence that made forks scraping plates sound distant. A silence that pulled at the nerves of anyone paying attention. And through it all, Sina sat motionless, eyes sharp, waiting for the moment when Liam's mask would finally slip. Backhand index pointing right now. Let me ask you, watching this right now, have you ever been so exhausted, so broken, that even silence felt like an attack? If you know that feeling, you already understand what Liam was going through. Comment below, because the cracks in his armor were only getting wider. The night moved on, but for Liam, time felt stuck. Every tick of the clock stretched longer, heavier. He moved through the dining room like a man underwater, serving wine, resetting tables, refilling baskets of bread, each task done with practiced precision but no heart. And Sina. He never blinked, never softened. He sat at table 8, silent, watching the cracks spread wider across Liam's tired frame. Finally, Sina's voice cut through the air, sharp but calm. Tell me, where does this Wagyu come from? Liam froze. He knew the answer was on the menu, somewhere. His lips parted. Japan, sir. It's imported. Sina leaned forward, his eyes narrowing behind the glasses. Which prefecture? Liam's throat tightened. He stammered. I'm not sure. Sina's voice dropped lower, like a blade against glass. Have you ever been to Japan? Liam shook his head. Then what exactly are you doing? Sina continued, his words slow, deliberate. Selling me a $200 steak and calling it authentic? The question wasn't fair. It wasn't meant to be. It was a trap, an impossible standard. But that was the point. The test wasn't in the answer. It was in the reaction. Liam's jaw clenched. His breath caught. His chest felt like it might collapse. But still, he didn't argue. He couldn't. From across the room, Craig leaned forward slightly, watching the tremble in Liam's hands as he gripped his serving tray like it was the only thing keeping him upright. He's going to walk out, Craig muttered to himself. It's just a matter of time. But Liam didn't walk out. He stood his ground, barely. Sina sliced another piece of steak, chewed slowly, then set his utensils down. His next words landed like a hammer. This tastes like disappointment. Liam's face drained of color. His voice cracked, barely a whisper. I'm sorry, sir. I don't eat garbage, Sina said flatly. The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. Their power came from the quiet, that bone-deep humiliation that makes your skin tighten and your eyes water. Not from pain, but from shame. Liam's lips parted, as if a protest might slip out. But nothing came. Instead, he reached into his apron, pulled out the bill, and laid it gently on the table. Sina picked it up, scanned the numbers, then for the first time that night, his expression shifted. His eyes narrowed, a spark of fire flashing. $200. His voice rose, sharp. Do you think I'm stupid? The room fell silent. Every laugh, every clink of a glass, seemed to vanish. Diners turned their heads, curiosity hanging in the air. Sina slapped the bill back onto the table with a crack that echoed through the room. I wouldn't pay a dime for this experience. Liam stood frozen, the humiliation pounding through his chest. A single tear slipped from his eye, tracing down his cheek before disappearing at his chin. He didn't wipe it away. He couldn't. His dignity had already been stripped bare. Finally, Cena leaned forward, his voice quieter now but heavier than ever. "Call your manager. Or call the cops. But I'm not paying." For the first time, Craig stepped forward, clearing his throat nervously. "Is there a problem here?" Cena didn't look at him. "No. He's just serving me. That's all." Craig hesitated, then stepped back. His indifference cracked, just slightly, but he still chose silence. And in that silence, Liam turned away, each step heavier than the last. Not crying, not collapsing, but moving like a man who had just been told, without words, that his best would never be enough. Backhand index pointing right, and here's where I turn to you. Watching this video. What would you have done in Liam's shoes? Would you argue? Walk out? Or keep standing because you had no other choice? Drop your answer below, because the real story of John Cena's test was only beginning. The clock neared closing hours. The laughter of diners softened, and the clinking of glasses slowed. Yet, in the quiet corridors behind the kitchen, Liam leaned against the wall, his chest rising and falling like a man running out of breath. His phone buzzed. A single name lit up the screen: Mom. "Hey, Ma," he answered quickly, forcing cheer into his voice. "You sound tired," her fragile voice came through. "I'm good," he lied, eyes burning. "Don't forget your meds," she whispered. "And make sure you eat something." "I will," Liam replied softly, though both of them knew he probably wouldn't. When the call ended, Liam closed his eyes, pressing his palm against the cold wall, whispering to himself, "Just 2 more months. Hold it together." But the quiet was broken by another voice. "Follow me." Liam turned, startled. Standing in the hallway was the same old man from table 8. Cardigan, glasses, beard. His expression unreadable, steady as stone. Something in his tone, though, left no room for argument. Liam followed. They walked down a narrow passage into a private dining room at the far end of the restaurant. The kind of room reserved for investors, tastings, VIPs who never mingled with the main floor. The heavy door shut behind them with a soft click. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Just 2 men, standing across from each other. Liam's shoulders hunched, his eyes lowered. He felt like he was about to be fired, humiliated all over again. Then slowly, almost painfully slow, the old man raised his hands. First, the thick glasses came off. Then the wig. Finally, the heavy beard peeled away. And beneath it all was John Cena. Not the action hero. Not the celebrity plastered across billboards. Not the smiling figure shaking hands on talk shows. This was a man lined by age, with eyes sharp but tired. Entirely real. Liam staggered back, his chest tightening. His mouth opened, but no words came. I don't understand," he whispered. Cena's voice was steady, calm. "You've been serving your boss tonight. Not just the investor. The man who built this place from the ground up." Liam blinked, his mind spinning. His knees nearly gave out. For hours, this man had tested him, humiliated him, pushed him to the breaking point. And now he was staring at the very man who made the restaurant possible. His pulse raced. Was this some cruel joke? A trap? Or was it something else entirely? Cena didn't move closer. He didn't soften his stare. He simply let the truth sink in, giving Liam space to feel the confusion, the shock, the disbelief. Finally, Cena broke the silence. "I used to do what you do. Every day. Mopping these floors. Carrying trays until my arms ached. Smiling when I had nothing left to give." Liam's lips parted again, but still nothing came. His brain couldn't keep up. Cena continued, his voice lower now, almost like he was speaking to himself. I've been watching. Not just tonight. 4 weeks. 4 months. I needed to know if this place still deserved my name. And more than that, I needed to know if the people working here remembered what it means to serve with heart. Liam's hand shook, not from fear now, but from something heavier, the weight of being seen. Truly seen. His eyes stung as he whispered, I thought I failed tonight. Sina's gaze softened, just slightly. You didn't fail, he said. You didn't break. And that's why you're standing here now. The truth hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Liam's world had just shifted. Backhand index pointing right, and now for you watching this video. How would you feel if the person humiliating you turned out to be your boss? Not to destroy you, but to test you. Would you see it as betrayal? Or as a chance to prove yourself? Comment your thoughts, because what John Cena said next would change Liam's life forever. For a long moment, the private dining room was silent. The faint hum of the restaurant outside felt distant, like another world. Inside, Liam stood frozen, still processing the truth. The cruel old man from Table 8 was actually John Cena. His boss. His silent benefactor. The man who had built Orchard and Vine from the ground up. Cena finally broke the silence. His voice steady but softer now. I used to do what you do, he said, his eyes fixed on Liam. Mopping these floors. Burning my hands on hot pans. Smiling at customers when I had nothing left to give. I know that weight you've been carrying tonight. I know it because I've carried it myself. Liam's lips trembled. He wanted to speak, but his throat was too tight. His mind replayed every rejection, every insult, every moment of humiliation from the past hour. Cena reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a plain white envelope. He placed it gently on the table between them. $15,000, Cena said simply. The transfer clears tomorrow. Liam blinked, his eyes wide. He staggered back a step. I can't accept that. I don't deserve. It's not a gift, Cena interrupted. His tone was calm, certain. It's what you've earned. You showed up. You gave your best when no one was watching. That's the part people forget. Integrity doesn't need a stage. Liam's eyes filled with tears. He pressed a hand to his chest, whispering, Why? Why are you doing this for me? Cena's expression shifted, his voice dropping lower, almost a whisper. Because someone once did it for me. And now, it's my turn. The words hit Liam harder than any insult from earlier. This wasn't about punishment anymore. This wasn't about humiliation. It was about recognition, about being seen after years of invisibility. Liam collapsed into a chair, staring at the envelope like it might disappear. His breath came unsteady, his shoulders shaking. For the first time that night, he allowed the tears to fall freely. Not from shame, but from relief. My mom, he managed to say through the tears. She's sick. I've been trying to hold on. Just trying. Cena nodded. Now you don't have to do it alone. Liam looked down again. Disbelief etched into every line of his face. This couldn't be real. And yet it was. Cena leaned forward, his voice firmer now. I have a management training program. You start Monday. Liam's head snapped up, his eyes wide. What? I don't have experience. You have the most important kind, Cena cut in. You know what it feels like to be invisible. To carry exhaustion and still choose kindness. That's the kind of leader this place needs. Silence stretched between them again, but this time it wasn't suffocating. It was heavy with possibility. Outside the door, unseen, Elena and Craig stood quietly, listening. Elena's arms were crossed tightly. Craig's hands were buried in his pockets. Neither spoke, but both of them felt the weight of what they'd just heard. Inside, Sina placed a hand gently on Liam's shoulder. Not as a boss. Not as a celebrity. But as a man who understood. I don't want pity to run this place. I want people like you. People who know what it means to stand when everything in you wants to fall. Liam shook his head slowly, tears still slipping down his cheeks. I thought I was failing tonight. Sina's reply was simple, but unshakable. You weren't failing. You were standing. Backhand index pointing right, and for you watching this right now. What would you do if someone you thought was tearing you down turned out to be lifting you up all along? Would you break under the pressure? Or hold on just long enough to find out why? Comment below, because John Cena's final move would leave Liam, and everyone around him, speechless. The next morning, orchard and vine looked the same as it always did. The chandeliers still glowed softly, the smell of fresh bread still lingered in the air, and the sound of clinking cutlery filled the room. But something had changed. Liam walked in right on time, his shirt neatly pressed, his sleeves rolled with care. He no longer moved like a man on the verge of collapse. He still carried weight, the kind you can't just drop overnight, but there was steadiness in his eyes now. A quiet fire. Craig, the floor manager, noticed first. He set down his coffee cup and gave Liam a small nod. No sarcastic remark, no lazy shrug. Just respect, the kind he had never shown before. Elena, standing over the hot pan, turned briefly, her sharp gaze softening for once. I heard you're starting the training program next week, she said. Liam smiled faintly and nodded. Yes. That single word carried more strength than a whole speech. Throughout the day, guests came and went. But this time, Liam wasn't just another tired waiter. His hands didn't tremble when he poured water. His voice didn't falter when greeting customers. He looked them in the eye, steady, calm. And the new staff noticed. A young trainee named Jenna nearly dropped a tray of drinks. Liam stepped over, gently adjusting her grip. Tilt your hand a bit. It'll be easier. His tone wasn't sharp, wasn't impatient. It was guiding, teaching. Jenna nodded, her shoulders relaxing. For the first time she smiled, not out of obligation, but gratitude. Someone watching from afar might think it was just another ordinary evening in a restaurant. But those who had been there the night before knew better. They knew something had shifted, not just in Liam, but in the entire space around him. Later that night, after closing, Liam sat at a small corner table with Craig and Elena. No noise. No pressure. Just 3 people, 3 cups of hot tea, and a silence that felt comfortable. Craig was the first to speak. His voice was slower than usual, almost careful. I want to start over, he said. If you're willing to teach me. Liam blinked, surprised. But then he smiled, a real smile this time. Elena said nothing, only nodded, her eyes carrying agreement. Outside, rain pattered softly against the windows. And in another corner of the city, John Cena walked alone down a quiet street. His coat draped over his shoulders, his pace unhurried. He didn't leave a note, didn't demand recognition. He didn't need to. He paused briefly, glancing back at the restaurant. Warm light spilled from the windows onto the rain-slick sidewalk. He whispered to himself, "The test is only just beginning." No one heard him. No one needed to. Days later, a piece of security footage from that private dining room was quietly saved. It showed an older man removing a disguise, a young waiter crying in disbelief, and a few simple words that carried more weight than any scripted speech. You weren't failing. You were standing. It wasn't just a reveal. It was real. A reminder that sometimes the harshest tests are the ones that prove who we really are. Weeks passed, but the ripple of that night didn't fade. Liam wasn't just serving food anymore. He was guiding. Not with a title, but with the way he carried himself. Staff listened when he spoke, not because they had to, but because sincerity, once tested by fire, has a resonance of its own. And the guests noticed too. People didn't just come back for the menu anymore. They came back for something harder to find, a place where kindness lived in the details, where dignity wasn't a luxury, but a standard. One night, after another long shift, Liam sat at the bar and video called his mother. Her tired but bright-eyed face lit up the screen. "Are you okay, baby?" she asked softly. Liam laughed, a laugh so real it surprised even him. "I'm okay, Mom. We're okay now." She paused, then smiled through her tears. "It's been so long since I heard that sound." And this time, neither of them held back. The tears flowed freely, but not from pain. From relief. From hope. Backhand index pointing right, and to you watching this right now. If you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever kept standing when the world tried to break you, then you understand Liam. This story isn't just about John Cena. It's about resilience, kindness, and the power of not giving up, even when nobody is watching. So if this story touched your heart, give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and don't forget to subscribe for more. Because sometimes, the smallest acts of endurance lead to the biggest new beginnings.